Alright, Shalom, Akim, Shalom, Shalom. Before I start this video, I'd love to give all praises, all honors, and all glories unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kodash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah Kodash. All right, I also like to give double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and rule well. And I'd also like to give a sincere salutations out there unto Joachim and unto Eudakim that are out there teaching this word in sincerity and in faith. All right, to you, I say shalom. And I'd also like to give a sincere shalom unto Tofa elect of the nation of Israel, you sincere Akim and Aqua that watch our videos, all right? The name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh, who the world only calls Yahweh or Jehovah. And his name means he exists. All right, Yah meaning he, Hawa meaning to exist or to be. He is the existing one, the Ancient of Days, the Holy One of Israel. All right, and the name of his only begotten Son is Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Yeshua or Jesus the Christ. His name means he Savior, he Deliverer. All right, Yah meaning he, Yahushua meaning Savior or Deliverer. When you call upon your power, you must say Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua. By doing so, you're calling upon the Most High Yahweh, Bahashim, or in the name of Yahushua. All right, because scriptures state in John 14:6 that Yahushua is the way, the truth, and the life, and that no man may cometh unto the Father but through him. In today's lesson, we're going to be focusing on the dollar and the U.S. debt limit and what this is going to mean for the U.S. and what's going to happen in the latter times, man. Because we're approaching June 1st to where it's supposedly the U.S. dollar is supposedly supposed to default, and what that actually is going to mean for the United States. So what would happen if the government defaults on its debts? Another debt ceiling crisis is approaching. Another debt ceiling crisis is approaching, and is in no one's best interest. Policy brinksmanship over lifting the debt ceiling and the threat of default it brings is increasing the cost of doing business and carries far more risk than is commonly acknowledged. At its core, the standoff is an artificial crisis induced by the political authority that will be difficult to contain if it is allowed to spiral out of control. But what happens if a default takes place? To better understand the risks, and they are substantial, we modeled out a number of scenarios to estimate the probable outcomes on employment, growth, and inflation. In a separate article, we also offer answers to some basic questions. A technical default. So this is what would happen if the U.S. dollar technically defaulted, but they were able to push back the date and print out more money to keep the economy afloat, which is what they've been doing. The first scenario is a technical default, which is defined as an extended period of non-payment of some or all U.S. financial responsibilities based on our shock model. A technical default would double the current unemployment rate of 3.4% to near 7%, so about 6.8%. Tip the economy into recession within 6 months, and following a short bout of disinflation, result in a more persistent bout of inflation accompanied by a deterioration in the fiscal condition of the economy. Salaki. So let's take a good look at the graph. This is what is projected to happen over time. You see, Continuing on, an actual default. The second scenario would be an actual default in which the government runs out of money, stops paying its obligations. It would be an unfettered economic catastrophe. Our model indicates that unemployment would surge above 12% in the first 6 months. The economy will contract by more than 10%, triggering a deep and lasting recession, and inflation would soar toward 11% over the next year. So we would be reaching near 2020 numbers when the whole world was locked down during COVID. Now we couldn't go out to work to provide for our families, and we had to receive the EDD. Under both scenarios, the U.S. credit rating would be downgraded, the dollar would be put into jeopardy, and the cost of floating debt for both the American private sector and government would rise. In addition, the small and medium-sized enterprises that comprise the backbone of the American economy, unable to absorb such a shock, would suffer irreparable harm. And that's basically the mom and pop shops that we see in like liquor stores and stuff like that are all around the U.S. You know, if you're not a huge corporation like Walmart, Target, Sam's Club, Costco, etc., you know, you're not gonna be able to make it through this and come back, if you're even making through it at all. So, you know, based on the experience of the 2011 and 2019 debt ceiling standoffs, our base case is that the political authority will tip fate, courting default and putting domestic and international economic stability at risk before striking a deal. You see, but the deal would not accomplish much in the way of addressing the government's long-term spending imbalance, the primary budget deficit, the deficit less interest owed on past debt, which in our estimation is the correct metric to focus on to achieve fiscal stability, stands at 3.27% of gross domestic product. Putting the primary budget deficit on a path to a more sustainable rate of 2% over the next decade is something that the political authority could accomplish outside an unnecessary and artificially induced crisis. To better understand the risks, we stimulate what a debt ceiling crisis would look like using two scenarios, the 2011 debt crisis and the 2008-2009 financial crisis. The 2011 debt crisis pushed down asset prices, reduced household spending and private business investment, and eroded consumer and corporate confidence. Even though the 2011 debt crisis was more benign than the financial crisis, a modest technical default along those lines that drags on for a few weeks would still damage the U.S. economy. The 2008-2009 financial crisis, by contrast, Slovakia. The 2008-2009 financial crisis, by contrast, serves as a better comparison if there is a full-scale default. The impact of such a default would be transmitted to the economy through the financial markets that would affect the real economy following a short lag. The results would be catastrophic, and they would be. The results would be terrible. You see? I can't even get the full story for y'all. But basically, this article, in layman's terms, to keep it short and simple, is talking about how Babylon the Great how the 14th Amendment would fix America's debt ceiling by allowing them to strike up a deal, allowing them to continue to print more money, ultimately raise the debt ceiling. You see? Which is going into keeping that hope alive for America, spoke of in Jeremiah, the 58th chapter, the 51st chapter, verses 8 and 9. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her bane. If so be, she may be healed. Babylon is suddenly through, man, because as we just read in the article, they've been through this before with debt ceilings and your debt defaults and always managed to bounce back because it wasn't the will of the Most High that it'd be destroyed in that time frame, that it'd be destroyed at that time. You see, and they take bond for her pain is symbolic of like a medicine, them printing out more money, striking up these deals and signing into more laws to print out more money to stabilize the economy would be like taking medicine for the pain that it's experiencing. Verse 9, for we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reached unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. You see? But Yahweh is not going to allow Babylon to bounce back this time. He's not going to allow Babylon to bounce back. You see? He's not going to allow America to keep bouncing back and continuing on in wickedness, man, because this place it is peak wickedness, man. It's even worse than Sodom and Gomorrah, and as such, it has to be made a memorial, just like Sodom and Gomorrah was. It has to be made to a monument. You see, and not only that, continuing back on topic, man, it is biblical prophecy that the dollar has to crash, man. That this place has to experience what it has to experience, which is all out total chaos, through one of the methods of crashing the dollar. So verse 9, 1 and 10, and it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Al-Bashim Al-Shah, that there shall be the noise of a cry from the fish gate, and an howling from the second, and a gate crashing from the hills. How, ye inhabitants of Maktesh, for all the merchant people are cut down, all they that bear silver are cut off. You see, because it's going to be looking like Venezuela with cash out here. Cash is going to be freaking useless, as we was just reading in the article conducted by Real Economy. And you see, because once the U.S. hits that debt default and hits that ceiling, and then inflation hits, man, with the impulse of the elders, starting with a post hard on down to a small fry like me, what's gonna happen is exactly what they were saying in 2020 was gonna happen in a few years, man. A gallon of milk is gonna go from $5 to $50, Steak is gonna be going from like $20 to like $200, $180, ridiculous prices. Because there's gonna be so much money out here that's gonna have been printed out without it being generated back into the economy through the workforce, that this is gonna be useless. You see, that's the whole reason why we're reaching a debt ceiling, because there's not enough people out here working to stimulate that money back into the economy, to keep the economy growing and flowing, man, because they printed out so much money through these stimulus checks and through all these various different laws passed in to keep the economy afloat. And people are out here scamming the government and taking money out and spending it on like yachts and all these different expensive alcohols and parties and through the PPP loans and the EDD and all that. And all these people receive the EDD, man. They receive so much money through that, man. They don't even want to go back to work, man. The grinding has ceased. Pursuant to Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, and thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Right? Remember Yahweh Bashmi Al-Shai in the days of thy youth, and the evil days come not. Give glory and give reverence to him. You see? Verse 2. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fear shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets. Or ever the silver cord be loose, or the gold bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. You see? So this is all going into the times that's coming. When the grinding is low, and the grinders shall cease because there are few, that's going into massive unemployment and no work being done out here. Doors being shut in the streets when the sun of the gunning is low is going into the lockdowns. You see, into the first lockdown, going into a second lockdown. You see, because when all this happens, when the U.S. dollar defaults and the dollar is being made near meaningless, you see, all hell is gonna break loose because you people love and worship and idolize that goddamn dollar. It's like a talisman unto you. You know, you cannot serve two masters, or you shall hate the one and love the other. You cannot serve the Most High and Mammon. And Mammon is the god of money, the god of treasures. You see, the money is made as a talisman, as an idol to you people. You see, y'all put anything that's put over Yahweh Shemiah Shai is made as an idol, whatever that may be. And a lot of you people out here in the world say, chase the bag, do whatever you can for that bag, stack that money up, man, which is going into you putting money over Yahweh Shemiah Shai. You see? So what's gonna happen, man? You know, there's no work out here for the people. People are able to provide for their families. People are able to go to the store to buy food and groceries because everything's too expensive. When people aren't able to provide for their families, you know, when people aren't able to live the way that they're used to living, that's when the time of trouble is going to commence. It's like Ezra 15:14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, their swords in their hands. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They should not regard their kings nor princes, and of course their actions shall stand in their power right. There's going to be sedition or government uprisings among the people because the government is going to tell you to keep calm. Everything's under control. They're going to handle it. But as we read in the article, man, there's not going to be anything that the government can do to be able to help the people, which is going to result in government uprising and mass protests and uprising against the people. It's going to be like a situation in India where everyone's going to be trying to go for the president and go for what and go for the government and the leaders of the country, which is going to result in the Federal Emergency Management Agency having to take over and bringing in those FEMA camps, bringing in martial law, or they already have foreign troops here on the ground, those blue hats, bringing them in to sustain order. And all hell and all chaos is going to be breaking loose. It's going to be massive famine, pestilence, earthquakes in diverse places. Okay? And all the midst of this happening, you know, people are going to be out here starving. Women aren't going to be able to feed their children. Men aren't going to be able to feed their women and children. And they're gonna be out here crying for help. But we're going to get into that later, continuing on. A man should desire to go into a city and shall not be able, right? Because when all this hell is breaking loose, there's going to be a lot of cities are going to be blocked off due to the chaos that's happening. You aren't going to be able to travel through that city because all out chaos is happening. The military might have it blockaded off. You know, numerous amounts of reasons for why a man will not be able to go into a city. You might be too tired from the famine. Your insides might be eating each other out, and you just might not be able to travel. Verse 18, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the house shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So your neighbor Bob, or your neighbor Jamal, that you see every now and then, that you might have drinks with, catch up on life, just talk to, just get to know, man. Y'all ain't gonna be friends in that day. Y'all ain't gonna be trying to catch up or get to or be homies in that day, man. Because there's gonna be a lack of bread, man. Y'all gonna be out here fighting with each other, trying to rob each other, trying to get over each other because you have to provide for you and yours. You see? Because of great tribulation. And not only that, man, and all this is going on because people aren't gonna like the prices that's going on, man. People are gonna be out here raiding the storehouses. You see, like how we seen in Chicago when people were going in and robbing these various different grocery stores, just running out with stuff. That's how it's going to be on a massive scale all across the U.S. So Ezra 6:22, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouse shall suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein, and the springs of the fountains shall stand still, and at 3 hours they shall not run. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. Because y'all gonna be out here starving. You're gonna have to people are already out here in the mentality of I gotta get it for me and mine first. I gotta get it for me. People are already out here are already extremely selfish and don't want to help each other grow. You see? And because of that, you know, in the time of trouble and all hell is breaking loose, that's gonna be magnified, and you really gonna see that these people aren't your friends, man, because you have to prove a friend. You see? You have to prove a friend. You can't just be out here saying, oh, that's my friend, that's my man, that's my homie. You have to prove a friend according to the scriptures, man. He's going to stand by you when times is tough, when times is rough, man. You see? And so because all our hell is breaking loose, because people are out here starving, people are going to take any form of help they could get. You see, because the dollar is going to be useless, it's going to crash. We already seen that the dollar isn't backed by petrol. The petrol dollar isn't the petrol dollar anymore because it's backed by oil. So now it's really not backed by nothing. Now it's really a fiat currency, which is why we're reaching our debt ceiling. Okay, people are the countries, the countries all around the world are already starting to trade with the Chinese yuan instead of the dollar. You see, the dollar is about to crash. All our hell is about to break loose, and you people are going to take any type of help you can get, any type of financial stability you can receive, man. Anything to bring back, to make America, to quote unquote, make America great again, which is when they're going to bring in the CBDC, okay, and bring in that chip, which is Revelations 13:16. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath an understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. You see? And that's the mark of the beast, man. The RFID microchip, man. They're gonna introduce that when all hell is breaking loose, okay? Because and everything is going left, and there is no dollar, and you can't go in your grocery stores to buy any food or clothing or water or anything. They're gonna bring in that chip, and that's gonna be like a way of financial stability. It's gonna be a way of stability, period, in your life, man. Because all this chaos is going on, but see, you have this chip, so now you can go into these different places and go and buy stuff for your family. You're protected. You're quote unquote protected by the military. You don't have to go through the hardships that everybody else is going through. You don't have to be ostracized from society. Okay, you can just go in and continue to live life the way you were in wickedness, man. And that's why the U.S. debt default is approaching so quickly, because these devils know that they're running out of time. Revelations 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil has come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And this devil knows that he doesn't have too much time left. Okay, he knows that he has to move, and he has to move fast. You see? So with that, I'd like to give all praises, all honors, and all glories unto the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Kakodash. Double honors unto the apostles, elders of Great Millstone, who taught us his truth and rule well. Shalom to hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. So next time I say, Shalom.